Everybody, welcome to another session of Gentle Chair Yoga. My name is Bhati Blumenthal. I'm the branch supervisor of the Putterham location of the Public Library of Brookline. We are happy to bring Keith back once again for this week's Gentle Yoga. I wanted to recognize our friends of the Brookline Library who sponsor this program as well as other programs. I would also like to recognize our community partners, Brookline Interactive Group, who streamed this program live to their Facebook page, their YouTube page, as well as cable channel 3 or local cable channel 3 on RCN and Comcast. Once again, participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. And with that, I give you Keith.
Hi, good morning. Let's start in mountain pose. So you can either do it seated or standing, your choice. And feel the breath. So bring your attention right to the belly. And if you need help feeling the breath, you can rest your hand right on the navel and feel the belly moving in and out with the breath. As we breathe in, we feel the belly expanding. And as we exhale, we feel the belly going back, receding back. The navel's moving back towards the spine. And always remember in our class that the breath is very dependent on you. So we follow our own breath rather than my breath, or if you were with someone else, the breath of somebody that you were with. So we always want to let our own breath tell us or regulate itself. And that means that usually our breath, if we leave it, it becomes very rhythmical. And just like if you watch somebody when they're sleeping, even if their breath isn't maybe, maybe it's not as quiet as it might be, you'll still find it's usually pretty rhythmical, which means that essentially, just like in music, the rising and falling of the sound stays, the beat stays similar, unless something changes. And we do change things sometimes in our class, and your rhythm will change when that happens. But for right now, think about the rhythm of the breath. Think about sitting up tall or standing up tall like a mountain, as if we were mountains, and our feet are rooted down in the ground, in the earth, and the peak of the mountain is the top of the head, and it is reaching up towards the sky. There's a lengthening in the spine without overdoing it. So we want to feel like the spine we're getting elongation in the spine, but without creating tension. So in mountain pose, we train the body to feel connected with the earth through the feet. And if you're seated, you'll feel it in the buttocks as well, the sitting bones. And then we want to feel as if the spine is elongating. So the back muscles are supporting us. And they do a very good job of that without us ever noticing, unless we end up with back pain. We don't often pay a lot of attention, but when we do mountain pose, we want to assist those muscles. We want to give them the idea of a lengthening, even lengthening the back of the neck, so that the head is even on the shoulders. so the chin's not lifted up or down. If you need to move it either up or down, lift it, let it come down ever so slightly. That'll help lengthen the back of the neck. And let's begin with the sound of Om. I'm going to tap the bowl to begin, and we'll do the Om, make the Om sound for about 30 seconds. So 3 or 4 Oms. Remember, it's the ah, o, shape of the, think of the shape of the mouth, the ah, so nice wide. O is the O shape, and the is bringing the mouth together. And as you make the sounds, notice how the emphasis in the sound climbs up from the base of the throat, moves up into the middle of the throat, and then for the last one, it moves more up into the jaw and even up into the sinuses. You'll still feel it in the other areas, but it tends to be a little more emphasized in these 3 different areas, depending on the shape, but because the vibration, the frequency changes, and the frequency determines where the vibration occurs the most in different cavities in the body or different areas around the throat. So let's go ahead, take a natural, normal breath in and begin. Remember, it's natural breathing. Relaxing the face and the eyes, sitting up tall. Natural breath. Relaxing the shoulders and the arms and the hands. And then one last time. Notice the silence. Bringing the palms together right in front of the heart. We're going to inhale and let the hands float up and around. This is our sun breath. Good way to start the day every day. Every day. And so you got it seated like this, or if you wanted to, you could even do it standing like this, as long as your balance is good. If you're concerned about balance, remember to have a chair handy. Relaxing the shoulders, really connecting down into the feet underneath you. So my feet feel like they're grounded in the earth. And then when I lift the arms up on the breath, the spine is elongating as if it was elongating down from the base, very base of the spine, where the pelvis is. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. So that's an important part of the sun breath, is keeping the shoulders so they feel comfortable. No tension in the neck, soft neck, soft face and eyes. So even though the spine is extending and we're breathing fully and the arms are circling, the other parts of the body they're doing what they need to do, but there's no tension. So they're keeping themselves working just enough to support the other parts of the body and what we're doing. And then we'll bring the palms together, pause there for a moment, and spread the fingers wide apart. Remembering, we never want to incur any sort of pain or discomfort in the class, so only spreading them where it's comfortable. And see if you can make them even. So even if they're close together, even if they're right together, that's okay. But see if you can bring some evenness, just a little spacing between the fingers. And then we'll go the other way. We'll exhale, drop the hands, and turn the palms up, and then reach up. So that now the hands are floating up on the breath, palms are facing up. And as they come together in front, above the head, they float down right in front of the face, down past the heart, and then they separate when they get down to the navel. Adjusting the size of the circles to fit your shoulders. So small circles is okay. Big circles is okay, as long as they're comfortable circles. That's the most important thing. You might even notice the chin will lift up and down a little bit, and the chest will lift up slightly as the hands float up, and then the chest will move down as the hands float down, without trying to do it. So try not to encourage that to happen, but let it happen if your body would like to do that. And that means we let go of the effort and we just observe. So we become a witness to what's happening, and then bring the hands together right in front of the heart. Pause there for a moment. Go ahead and adjust the hands again. Bring evenness. Press the palms one into the other. So the two palms become like one. Shoulders relax, and then a few cactus breaths. Inhaling, exhaling together. And go ahead and let the hands float up and down, almost like a bird flapping its wings, a little higher up with the hands, and then as they move apart, a little bit lower down. So the hands are making sort of a snake or an S shape up and down. And if that feels okay, you can begin to give yourself a hug, starting with around the elbows, and then working your way up the arms, always making sure that it feels okay. So we don't want to hug ourselves so tightly that the shoulders hurt, or the shoulder blades are uncomfortable, or the chest is crushed. We want the chest to still feel we're giving a hug, but it still feels relatively open, even when we hug ourselves. So it makes it so we can still breathe. Always crisscrossing the opposite arm on top. So as the one arm, the left arm is on top, and then I switch to the other arm on top. And then this time, go ahead and cross like this and pause there for a minute. Continue to breathe. Take a breath in, exhaling. And then on the next inhalation, release the arms, and they come out, and then we exhale, they cross. Opposite arm on top, and pause there. Take a breath in. And exhale, relax the shoulders in this position. And then the next time you inhale, the hands come apart. So notice that we're pausing for one inhalation, exhaling to let the body relax in this position. Let the shoulders and the shoulder blades relax. And then the next time we breathe in, we release the arms. So just like with cactus breath, please come back to a cactus breath. We're always inhaling with the arms going apart. So so the inhalation helps to open this front of the body. So really opening the torso, and then the closing of the torso is on the exhalation. So now the lungs are smaller, and so it's easier to hug ourselves. It'd be really hard. It's hard to hug yourself. So notice when you cross like this, and then you take a breath in, it's a little more challenging. It starts to open the back of the body up, which is what we want it to do. And then bring the hands down. Let's roll the shoulders. So we close one area, or we restrict one area, and then switch the shoulders the opposite way. And then that helps to open the other areas when we breathe. So the breath is tremendously important in opening parts of the body. And we'll see that again in a minute. We can actually imagine We can use our imagination to bring the breath down into areas of the body that the lungs don't actually normally go into, like even the knees or the hips and the buttocks. It's that idea of, it's the feeling part. It's bringing the feeling of the expanding breath, the expanding abdomen, the expanding lungs into different parts of the body. And let's sit up nice and tall, and we'll do a little swimming here. So let's warm up the shoulders a little more before we go to the legs. A little backstroke. Go ahead and let the torso turn a little. Let the torso turn, so that, notice how my shoulder, there's that diagonal movement from the hip to the shoulder back as I do my backstroke. And there's no forcing of the arm back, no forcing of the shoulder. It's always we want it to feel like it's a natural movement, even if it's not as much movement as you'd like. Yoga teaches us to accept ourselves, and we all have limitations. And let's go the other way. So swimming forward now, and letting the arm reach out and then across the body to the opposite side and down the outside of the opposite leg. And go ahead and let the body begin to turn this way. So that turning is still happening, but leaning a little bit forward on this one. I'm not really leaning forward, but my position is slightly forward. Whereas when I was doing the backstroke, it was leaning back a little bit. And that's just anatomy. Pretty hard to do this crawl stroke leaning back. I guess you could do anything anyway, but it doesn't feel that natural. So we want the movements to feel natural. You could even think about reaching a little further out, potentially, as long as it feels okay and as long as your back supports that. So being mindful whenever we extend the arms, the further we extend them out, the more leverage there is back on the spine. So we need to make sure that the core can support the spine when we've got things extended out. And sitting up nice and tall. And let's bring the arms together like this. And then go ahead and cross one over the other. So this is going to be our beginning of our eagle arms. So I'm crossing, the elbow is in the crook of the other elbow. I start out like this, and then start by touching one shoulder and then touching the other shoulder like this. So that's the first part of our eagle arms. So the second part is we begin to wrap the arms around each other. So if this is not accessible, then you can work with the hands on the shoulders. Remember, you can also use a strap or anything really. This happens to be a strap, but it could just as easily be my vest here. So like this. So just holding on to something, and this gives the hands something to hold on to, and it makes it easier to stay in the pose if you have something like this. So it could be a scarf, it could be a washcloth, it could be anything really, or a belt. And let's go ahead and extend the arms back out. Let's cross the other one over this time. So it's the same position, elbow in the crook of the other elbow. And then the starting position is hands on the shoulders like this. And then the next position is wrapping the hands like this. So this is our eagle arms. And if this feels really comfortable like this, actually let's pause, take a couple of breaths like this. We'll do this one more time on each side. And then go ahead and release. So that we'll do you have three different places to work with. We have the starting spot like this. And actually, if you can't bring the hands like this on the shoulders, you could work like this as well, just with the hands crossed like this, the arms crossed. So it's this, shoulders intertwining, Or if that feels great, no problem, you can begin to move the elbows out away from the chest and lifting them up, but no higher than the shoulders. And we want this to be happening when the face and eyes and the shoulders are all relaxed. And the shoulder blades back here feel relaxed. They're not strained. If you're starting to feel strain in any of these places, in any place on the body, then move back away to another position until you don't feel strained, and let release. And if you do this on a regular basis, it's always important to remember to warm up first. But if you do this on a regular basis, it gets easier. And let's do the other side one more time. So we'll cross the arms. This is position 1, position 2, position 3 is wrapping, and the 4th one is to begin to lift the elbows up and away, keeping the rest of the body relaxed, especially the face and eyes and shoulders. And also breathing. If at any time you have trouble breathing, then you should move back to the previous position and release. Bring the arms down. Let's roll the shoulders a few times. So eagle arms is a great way to practice on a regular basis. And you start to feel the shoulders get a little more open, but making sure there's no pain. So always step by step following to make sure that your body likes what you're doing with it. And sitting up nice and tall. Let's move down to the feet. And we're going to rock. I'm going to start by rocking the feet. As you rock the feet today, notice, slow it down a little bit, and notice the feelings that you get in the calf muscle and also in the muscles here along the shin. So as I lift the heels up, my calf is contracting. So please bring your attention down here and feel the calf. And then the heels come down and I lift the toes up and I feel the muscles along the front of the shin. So we want to connect right now with feeling these two different muscles. And they work, they call them antagonists, because although they're cooperating in our body, they really work opposite to each other. So it's important to be able to feel those muscles. And if we slow down enough, we can begin to feel them. We can also close our eyes and really bring our attention down there. So we're not distracted by what we're seeing, we're feeling. You might even notice as you lift the toes up that you feel the shins. You might even feel the tops of the feet contracting slightly. So there's a contraction all along here and up here. And we're getting those areas to work together. It's especially important for the ankle mobility. So we need strength in the ankles and we need flexibility. We need to be able to bend. If we can't bend our ankle, if we can't do this with our ankles, it makes it hard to climb stairs. Every time you go to put your foot up, your foot has to bend, especially when it comes down. So there's movement required in the front of the ankle. And then let's go add the hands to it. Don't worry about feeling the legs quite so much, and add the hands. And see if you can feel the connection between the hands and the feet rocking. The movement of the hands and then the movement underneath on the bottoms of the feet. It's almost like the movement is going back and forth underneath the foot between the heel and the toe. Of course, it's not really. I mean, it's feeling that way because we're feeling the bottom of the foot touching the floor. So we feel where the bottom of the foot is touching. You might be able to feel where the fingers are moving through the air. It's a little bit easier to feel the coolness of the air moving by the fingers than it is with the palms. There's a lot more airflow around the fingers, especially if you're wherever you are is particularly warm or particularly cold. And then sitting up nice and tall, and take a couple of breaths. Let's go ahead and scoot all the way back in the chair. And I'm going to use the back of the chair here for support. And we're going to lift up one leg and then rest it again. And then the opposite side. When you lift up the leg, make sure there's a straightness from the hip to the knee to the toes and to the heel. So don't let the foot turn out or turn in. Make sure it's pointed straight up. And when you lift up, pull the toes back and extend the heel away from you. So it helps to stretch the bottom of the leg. And a couple more times. And now go ahead and lift up and point and flex the ankle. Point and flex the ankle like this. So we were talking about the flexion in the ankle before. You could even begin to curl the foot slightly so that it stretches the top of the foot here. Just be mindful if we overdo that, sometimes the foot will cramp. So try to avoid that. So we want to bend the foot enough so it's stretching, but without cramping it. And if you do get cramps in the foot, try bending the foot back and forth with your hand. Even bending. So actually, let's do this. Let's go ahead and cross the ankle over the knee like this, and bend the toes back and forth. So I'm not forcing here. I'm just sort of gently guiding the toes back and forth. So my palm is supporting the ball of the foot, and then I'm moving my toes. This is a great way to help with to get some mobility in the toes, as long as we're not forcing it. It also helps to bring circulation into the toes. So it's not quite as important now. It's getting a little warmer, but in the wintertime, if you'd like to encourage better circulation in the toes, gently move the toes back and forth. So this is manually working on the toes. And I'm not creating any pain or discomfort. If there's any sign of that, then be more gentle and don't expect as much range of motion, and then see if over time things start to move a little more freely. So we always want to work on freedom of movement with the joints. And if they're not moving freely on their own accord, when we ask them to move, like lifting the toes up like this, then we can gently use our hands to start to guide them. You have to do that regularly, though, if you expect to be able to get easier movement and then eventually get them to move on their own. It takes regular, probably daily, doing it on a daily basis, and also making sure they're warm enough. If parts of the body are cold, they don't move well at all. And sitting up nice and tall. And let's do, so we just did some leg lifts before. The other one is the double leg lift like this. So remember, we're using the back of the chair. So go ahead and scoot all the way back in the chair. And for this one, you can use your fingertips on the edge of the chair here to help support and lift up to help lift the torso up. So it's going to look like this from the side. So I'm using my hands to press down and to help lift the heart, to keep it lifted, because when I take my feet away, I don't have any support. And I'm lifting and then coming down. Of course, if that bothers, if it's challenging for the back, then stay with just one leg. Build strength with one leg. You could even build strength with just a little lift. And then over time, the lifting gets higher. And then maybe eventually you could do both legs. But we want to make sure that as we lift the legs, the back's not rounding. So we talk in yoga a lot about the curves in the back. So we have the going in down here, the lumbar curve. We have the thoracic curve going out the opposite way, and the back of the neck here is going in. So those curves are very important for the structural alignment of the vertebra and for strength in the back. So we don't want the curves to be opposite, and we don't want them to be overdone either. It's important to make sure there's not too much curve. Both those things are important. And so sitting up tall and then sliding towards the front of the chair and extending the spine up, we're going to start to circle around. So circling, thinking about lengthening the spine first. So starting with smaller circles. It may be hard to see the circles because the circles are going around like this. The plane of the circles is actually parallel to the floor. And then if that feels okay, if you're able to keep the spine lengthened and you'd like to, you can make the circles a little bigger. So this is sort of the second step, is bigger circles, but still spine lengthened. Making sure we're looking out across the room. Try not to look down at the floor. That tends to round the back. So it's like we're going to take off out of the chair, even though we're not. And let's go the other way. And if you want more of a challenge, if you're making big circles and this is really easy, and you feel like you have good engagement in the core of the body, you can release the hands and begin to work with the hands moving with the body. You can even start to circle the hands up and around. I always want to be mindful that the core is able to support the spine here. So if it's not, it's a great movement to have the hands on the knees like this. And even notice how the arms are bending to help support the spine. And at the same time, there's this nice feeling of fluidity with the arms and the spine and the rest of the body all working in unison, going in this circle. And then let's go the other way a few more times. So each one of these movements, each one of these possibilities has its own feelings, its own rewards. And, we have to sort of focus, we have to try to find one that we like. And then maybe every once in a while we try a slightly different one and we see how that is. And that way we get to grow a little bit and try new stuff, but at the same time, we're doing it in a thoughtful way. And that's really important. Thoughtfulness in yoga thoughtfulness is really the core of yoga. Yoga is really about paying attention. It's in many ways, some people would say it's controlling your mind, getting your mind to do what you want it to do. When your mind does what you want it to do without being somewhere else, without thinking about other things, it's easier to focus in on the body and get the body to do what we want it to do. It still takes practice, but if we're more focused, if our mind is focused, we can focus better on what we want our body to do and paying attention to what our body is doing, so that when we're walking and we are not paying attention to our walking, and we end up falling over something because we didn't notice it, because we didn't pick our feet up. Had we been paying more attention to actually walking, that might not have happened. So, like with so many things in life, really paying attention has a lot of benefits. Paying attention to exactly what we're doing, what we want to do, and sitting up nice and tall. Let's take a few cactus breaths. Inhale and exhale. And one more. Oh, so let's do the neck before we move on to the asanas. Let's lift the chin up and then release it down. So remember, when we work with the neck, we want to feel like we're everything's lengthening, and then we release and relax the chin. We let the weight of the head do the work. We don't have to force the head. It weighs somewhere between about 12 and 14, at least, say 10 and 15 pounds, depends on how big you are, but like a bowling ball, essentially. And then go ahead and sit up nice and tall and just tip the head. And then the opposite side. And if you want to add a pillow, you can with your hands. Exhaling as we lean slightly over, inhaling up. Exhale. And as we inhale to come up, think about elongating the spine. And that helps to keep the spine long while we're doing this. Inhale up, elongate. Exhale, relax. Inhale up, elongate the spine. Exhale, relax. And one more time. Inhale up and exhale. And then inhale up. Let's turn the head from side to side. Perhaps closing the eyes here. And feeling the movement, feeling the turning, nice and easy. See if you can get an easy feeling, as if we took our hand and we waved our hand back and forth, nice and easy. As if we were in, say, a swimming pool, and we were very gently moving the water, swishing the water back and forth with ease. And then circling around, also with ease. Always with the neck, thinking about being a little smaller, thinking small with the neck. And if that feels okay, you can make it a little bigger. We'd like to stop making it bigger before we get to that point where we start to feel like a lot of crunching, or certainly any pain or discomfort. We want to avoid that with the neck. The vertebrae in the neck are small. Let's go the other way. So we want to be thoughtful about them. Keeping the shoulders relaxed here. The face and eyes are relaxed. And then sitting up nice and tall. And let's begin with triangle pose. So we'll do it twice. We'll do the first one. I'll show it seated. If you're familiar with triangle pose and you'd like to stand and do it, you can certainly do that. Because remember, this is ultimately your practice. I wish we could do it together and see each other directly, but we can't right now. Soon, I hope. But sitting up nice and tall, and then stepping one foot out to the side like this. So there's an opening here, about a 90-degree angle, and then coming up on the ball of the foot like this, so that the heel's lifted up. And actually, you can even try this. Try lifting the ball of the foot up and see what it feels like underneath where the sitting bones are. What it feels like, the weight, how the weight is distributed underneath you. And then go ahead and bring the foot in and find a spot to rest the sole of the foot on the leg of the chair somewhere. And I still want the front foot to be pointed straight ahead. And then I'm going to add the arms like this and reach and open the heart. Open the heart. You can have the arms high up if that feels okay, or they can even be lower down. They can even be down like this. I mean, trees have branches I was just over at Lars Anderson the other day, and you know, some trees, the branches are actually down like this. I mean, they have other branches too, but they could be anywhere along the tree. So it's a matter of finding a spot where your shoulders feel comfortable, where we could stay like this. We could inhale, keep breathing, and extend the spine by pressing the foot down, pressing that front foot down to help support the lift of the spine. The nice thing about doing it seated is there's not so much of a balance issue. So you could stay like this as long as it's comfortable, as long as we're not overdoing it for for our muscles, and then go ahead and lower down. And of course, you can always come down anytime we do a pose. You can always come down, rest for a moment, come back into the pose, come down and rest, and not go back into the pose. We have to decide those things for ourselves. And then sitting up in mountain pose again, or if you're standing, you'll come back to standing mountain pose, and then doing the other side. Stepping the foot out, lifting the heel up, and then lifting the ball of the foot off. So notice that my foot is just a couple inches off the floor here, but I'm feeling underneath me to feel the connection between the buttocks and the chair. That's my support. And then I'll bring the foot in, find a place to rest the sole of the foot, and adjust that front foot so I can press it down into the floor to help support the spine lifting up. Inhaling and extending the arms. You also, it's nice if you're seated, not only is it not so hard to balance, but you could close your eyes here. You could close your eyes here and then begin to really feel what's going on in the rest of the body without being distracted. Sitting up tall, extending the spine, breathing in, breathing deeply, and exhaling. So using the breath here to help support the body, especially the spine. And remember, you can come down whenever you want. You could even lower your branches down a little bit if that makes it easier to keep the arms. And then go ahead and lower down. And step the foot back. Let's come back to mountain pose. Sitting up nice and tall. And exhaling. So you can repeat what we just did, or you can stand up. Remember, if you're standing and balance is an issue, please have a chair handy. I'm going to put the chair right there. And we'll start in mountain pose. So both seated or standing, still mountain pose. And if you're standing, bend the knees ever so slightly and straighten the legs like this. And if you're seated, isometrically, or press the feet down with isometrically contracting the quadriceps. We've done that before. As if you were going to stand up without standing up. Notice the bend in the knees here is very small. It's really just to get the quadriceps and the buttocks and the core of the body activated. So I'm pressing, thighs are moving back, buttocks are squeezing in towards each other, and the belly's moving in to support the core here. So there's a firmness. So remember, anytime we do a standing pose, we want firmness, and usually firmness in the quadriceps too. So standing up nice and tall, and then we're going to step that foot out, just like we did when we were seated. Notice we're on the ball of the foot, and lifting the heel, and then lift the toes up for a moment, and come back down. And now see what it feels like on the opposite leg. I'm lifting up, and then coming back down. And then I'm going to lift up, and then bring the foot on the inside of the calf, like this. Don't put it on your knee, though. We don't want it up here on the knee. We always want it either on the calf, or you can bring it all the way up on the inside of the thigh like this, but not on the knee. And then we're extending our branches. Find a drishti point and focus your attention there. A soft gaze on that point that won't move. Focus the mind there. Focus your attention. Keep breathing. Always making sure we're breathing. Relaxing the shoulders. If you need to step down for a moment, feel free to do that. And then whenever you're ready, you can lower down and then bring the foot down. So remember, we use a drishti point oftentimes in balancing poses that we lose focus not from our bodies, but from the mind losing its attention to what we're doing. And in order to come to make that, keep the focus, we use a drishti point. So anything that won't move, you can just bring your attention there and you kind of stare at it with soft eyes. Think about it that way. So mountain pose, standing up tall, bend the knees, straighten, elongate the spine, lengthen the spine, activate the abdomen, firm up the buttocks, thighs are active, and then step the foot out. Come onto the ball of the foot. Pause there. Most of the weight is on the straight leg. And then you can lift up the foot like this a couple of times. So feel the weight shifting into the straight leg. And then when you're ready, you can bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. And then find that drishti point. Remember to keep breathing. And you can extend your arms, your tree branches, however you want. Or you could even work, some people like this. Some people like the hands in front of the heart. So they're all nice ways to practice. Keep the focus of the mind. Remember to breathe. And if you need to step down for a moment, you can come right back if you want. And then whenever you're ready, you can lower the arms down and then bring the foot down. And then step the feet apart and let's swing the arms. So if you're seated, you can do the same thing. You can step the feet apart. So you have some space between the knees, and then we'll swing the arms. Keeping the knees soft here. So as I swing my arms, the weight is shifting from one side to the other. So if you're standing, continue there. If you're seated, think about leaning a little bit, one side to the other, and lifting that opposite foot up just a little bit. And you'll feel the weight shifting more. And you'll also feel the weight coming back in to the leg. A little bit like when we stand, one side, the foot's almost lifting off the floor. It's still staying in contact, but the weight is shifting like we're skating. So if we were skating, it would be like this. If anybody who's a skater, you'd shift the weight when you skate. Or even skiing, if you do cross-country skiing, same thing. Just swinging the arms. Allowing this movement to happen along that waistband here. So there's nice turning. This is a really good movement for elimination and digestion because it gently stretches the belly over the intestines and the internal organs and then releases, goes to the other side. And let's come back and stand up nice and tall. And we're going to do triangle pose. So we're going to do it first seated, and then we'll do it standing. So if you'd like to just do it standing and you know how, you can certainly welcome to do that. But we'll start out with it seated. So the feet are going to be apart like this, and you have a choice of the legs bent with the feet flat, or you can extend the feet out. If you're going to extend the legs out straight, you'll need to slide near the front of the chair for triangle pose. So it's inhaling, extending the arms out, so reaching out through the fingertips, and at the same time, think about the shoulders right here moving in slightly. So I'm not, even though my arms are extending out, I'm not pulling the arms out of the joint. I'm extending the arms and at the same time keeping some firmness of the head of the humerus in the shoulder joint. And then inhaling and exhaling, allowing the hand to come down and then slide down the leg. And then inhale up and exhale on the other side. Inhale up, exhale other side. Inhale up, exhale the other side. A couple more times on each side. See if you can find some ease here. Some ease. And then come back up, bring the arms down. So before we switch the pose, we'll do the next step with triangle pose is you can begin to turn the head. So I extend the arms out like this, and then as the arm comes down, I allow the head to turn to look up towards the opposite hand. So this is only if your neck is, you have a very good neck, or I should say you don't have any trouble with your neck. If you have trouble with your neck, if your neck is just okay, just keep it in a neutral position. If you have neck problems, you can actually bring the hand down and look down at your hand on the bottom, and that's going to turn the head slightly down, and that's going to be a little bit easier on the neck. So that we have three choices. We have the neutral one like this, looking straight ahead. We have the one that you would do if your neck bothers you, and we look down towards the hand or in that direction. You don't have to turn all the way down. And then the other one is if you don't have any neck issues at all, you could turn the head to look more up towards the hand. So let's try that one more time. So we'll extend the legs out, extend the arms out, inhale, and then whichever one your neck you want to do, the neutral, and then inhale up, or looking down if you have any neck issues, or inhaling up, or if your neck's really good, you can turn to look up. So decide, try to do the same thing for each one of the, stay with that same neck position for the duration of this class, rather than changing it all around. And coming back up and then lowering the arms down, bring the feet back, sitting up tall in mountain pose or standing up tall if you're standing. And then if you're, so you can do triangle pose again, which is what we just did seated, or if you want to do it standing, you can join me in stand. Make sure if you need a chair that you have it nearby. So we step the feet apart. We extend the arms out. So the further the feet are apart, the more challenging it is, the harder it is for balance, the harder it is for strength. So moderate yourself so it's a comfortable distance for the feet apart, so that you feel like your legs are giving you good support. If you start to feel like they're getting too far out, then you probably need to move them in. And then we'll extend the arms out, inhaling, extending up nice and tall. And then just like before, we bring the hand down as we exhale and inhale up and exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down, inhale up. And so remember, you got your neck, choice of your neck, either a neutral neck, looking straight ahead, or looking down if your neck bothers you at all, looking more down. Or if your neck feels really great, you can start to look up. And you'll notice that if you start to look up, it's definitely more challenging, especially for the shoulders and when we turn the neck. So when we keep our head in a neutral position, it's much easier on the shoulders. Exhaling, inhaling up. And you can always pause, or you could always just bring the feet together and complete the pose and be done with this pose. And then lowering the arms down and then stepping the feet. One of the ways that if you do have your feet apart like this, You could toe heel your feet like this to get them closer together, to make it easier to step the feet together. So especially the further the feet get apart, it can be challenging to get the feet back together. So this toe heeling like this can be a nice way to get back. And then standing up nice and tall. And take a couple of breaths. And we're going to open the heart, open the chest by bringing the hands in a position behind us. So either the fingers interlaced like this, pardon my back, or you can work with the hands like this, with the fingers pointing down. So for this one, the fingertips are on the top of the buttocks, and so my sacrum, if you find the bony thing down here, the sacrum, my palms are on the sacrum like this. You could also work with the hands on like this, lifting forward like this. You could even cross like this if you wanted and take hold of the elbows. So it's really about finding what feels comfortable so that we get an opening across the chest, but at the same time, the shoulders and the shoulder blades feel okay. We want the shoulders to be able to move freely down. So for many of us, interlacing the fingers like this, notice how the hands are low here, will help to bring the shoulders down and also open across the chest. So we're going to stand or sit here for a few breaths anyway. Feeling the heart opening as you breathe in. Feeling the ribs lifting, and then as you exhale, feeling the belly softening, the ribs softening, the heart and the chest softening. This is a great position if you're seated for a while and you need a little break, especially if you've been using the computer where the back tends to round like this. Notice that this and this are almost like opposites. Shoulders are back and down, heart is open, shoulders are forward, and the heart is closed here. So, which just goes with the computer. Not much we can do about that. The other thing that you could do if you're seated, it can be nice to use the chair. The chair can help us with this by bringing the hands back. And notice how I'm starting to turn my hands out. So you have to decide, how far do I turn my hands? For some people, the fingers won't point all the way back. The fingers may just point to the side like this, or may even point forward. We want them to be comfortable. We want the wrists and the fingers and the shoulder joint to be comfortable in this position. So you need to find a spot for your direction for your fingers. And even just resting the fingers and the hands. Get a nice stretch, especially for the front of the wrist here. So that's another one where if you've been using the computer, oftentimes this area is closed. Just be mindful not to we don't want to stress the wrist joint out. We want the wrist joint to feel like it's opening, but not any pain and not discomfort. And we're going to all sit down now. And we're going to begin to warm down. So inhaling and circling the hands around. So this is our sun breathing. And notice the heart here. See if it feels any different than before. See if there's a little easier opening in the chest. Shoulders are moving maybe a little more freely. Notice how things are feeling. Maybe the face and eyes are a bit more relaxed. And let's go the other way. Hands go down, up and around. Whenever you're ready, you can settle into your Shavasana, the final relaxation pose. When you feel like things are moving okay, sliding all the way back in the chair. Using the chair for support here. So it's important to make it easy to keep the spine lengthened in Shavasana. So there's no straining, the least amount of effort as possible. And feeling the breath, feeling the belly moving in and out with the breath, the shoulders and eyes relaxed. Continue like this for just a couple more minutes, or maybe another minute or so. And it's always good to stay a little longer, or stay as long as you can in Shavasana, 5 or 10 minutes if you could, at least a few minutes. There's a lot of benefits in Shavasana. It really teaches the body. It begins to integrate all the things that your body was doing, and it gives the body and the mind and even the spirit a chance to relax after the practice. Hopefully things are a little clearer, or things are a little bit cleaned out, especially in the mind at the end of the practice, and we give ourselves a chance to feel what that's like, to have a cleaned out mind, something not quite so cluttered. Like giving yourself a little break. And we all deserve a break, no matter who we are, we all deserve a break. So we'll continue like this for about another minute, and then we'll formally end the class. Namaste. So thank you all. See you next time. Remember, stay a little longer.